Hello and welcome in this exciting episode. Yes, I finally made another floral jacket. This one is pink, hot pink and red, and well, it's not exactly finished. I think it needs more beading on it, but that's what this episode is about.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So at the start of June, I made these 6 jackets, and underneath all these flowers is a red faux leather jacket, very attractive. So yeah, I made the 6 jackets first, and they were originally going to be for the make 9s, and I mean 3 of them are. So this is the strawberry one. And so after I made the 6 jackets, I was like, okay, we'll use these and see what they're like, because I wanted to know whether I should buy more faux leather or not. So I used that one to do the strawberry jacket, and then I finished the foliage jacket, which I call the forage jacket because the feature on the back looks like berries to me. So that's 2. So we've got 4 more jackets to go, and I decided I really wanted, because I sort of did green jacket, then red jacket, but I finally finished the green jacket, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do another green jacket. So I was thinking these ones, it's sort of mauvey, stone-coloured foliage, but I'm going to use them on a stone-coloured jacket, I think. I haven't made the jacket yet. So then I was like, maybe I should do all the white blooms on the green jacket, but I decided against that too. And then I remembered that I had this jacket here, which I half made ages ago. But the mistake I made with this jacket was using the big blooms on the front, because I have like a really small frame, and 3 big flowers sort of covered the whole of the front, and it just looked wrong. So plus I think I've pinned each flower down in too many places, and they just didn't look real. Also, I don't think the leaves look good in this. So lots of reasons why I don't like it. So I've decided, well, you just saw what the almost finished version looks like. But yeah, see these dahlias? I know other people pronounce dahlias a different way. Whatever, I say dahlias. They're gorgeous, gorgeous artificial flowers, but they're just too big. Anyway, so I'm going to take all those ones off carefully, pin them on something, and use them in another jacket. So now we have to decide which of these 3 is best suited to a floral jacket. One of them has a lowish front and then rounded corners and a highish back, and I think we're going to save that one for flower-shaped beads. I'm going to put flower-shaped beads on that one. So these are the other 2, and the one with the lower neckline is probably better because I'm using big bulky flowers, and I kind of want them to be away from my neck as much as possible. It's the jacket I'm going to do, and this is the half done abandoned jacket that I'm going to carefully pull apart. I'm going to reuse all the beads that are on that, and I'm going to use all the flowers as well. And as I unpluck them, this is me just pointing out that yes, it's still, when I made this jacket I sort of used white thread on it, beige thread, so I had to do some unpicking with my unpicker, which took forever, but I've finally done that. And now it's time. These are all the extra flowers that I had, so I used some of them on the other jacket, and then I abandoned the jacket. So these are the other ones. And to use, these are the tinsy tiny flowers. I only end up using one of those 3. I use the hot pink geraniums, but I'll keep the red geraniums and the red brackets bougainvillea, the ones on the right, the really beautiful ones. I'm going to use them in a different jacket because I've got some really, really dark red flowers that I'm going to use on a different jacket. So these are sort of just only bright red flowers and hot pink flowers. And I use more of that artificial turf to do the design feature on the back. And now this is me. I have 5 big dahlias, and I used the 2 biggest ones on the sleeves, and I think they look really good. But I made the same mistake again using the large ones on the front. And just because they cover so much surface area, so you get to finish the jacket sooner. But they really do look wrong. So what I did was, this just seems so wrong, but I used there's 2 that are the same size that are up near the neck, top of the neck. I removed them from here, and I ended up putting one on each hip, which sounds like it would make the jacket look ridiculously like all shoulders and all hips, but it's really good. Like, the way that I stitch them down, it sort of pins them out, and it covers this awkward area because the hip is more rounded than anywhere else on the rest of the jacket. So it's a potentially really awkward place to put a big flower. So, but because the dahlias are so like an octopus and spread out, it actually worked really well. And then the other one, I ended up taking 2 of the back layers of petals off, and I'm going to use them on the dark jacket. And then I just used the 5th dahlia bloom on the back, but ended up being much smaller because I took some of them off. So, and then I just slowly went around and stitched each one on. So they're held on with a bead in the center, which you can't really see. And so I sort of stitched on the layers of petals. Then I did a stitch through the bead and then back to the back of the jacket. And then I did another couple of stitches through the center bead. So the center bead is held on with about 3 stitches. And then the layers of petals beneath it are held on with a quick stitch or 2 before that. And I did that for every single flower. So it took forever, but I think it looks really, really effortless. And then the ones on the shoulders, I also had to stitch down the outer petals, and the ones on the hips, the big dahlias on the hips, I also had to stitch down some of the outer petals. But the rest of the petals aren't stitched down, which is rather precarious. But this is about half of all the large and medium-sized flowers. So I have to do the other half. After I've done that second layer, there's another 3rd layer, which is 150 hot pink geraniums. Tiny, they're sort of small blooms. So, and when I stitch them down, instead of just stitching down one flower, I'm going to catch each petal of each big flower beside it. And so, yeah, it's kind of complicated how I'm going to do it, but it sort of pins down everything in a way that looks effortless, which takes forever. So this is me taking a break from the hot pink and red one because, oh my goodness, like just stitching down each individual flower takes so long. And it looks effortless, which is awesome, but it looks like you're not doing anything. Super frustrating. Anyway, so then I said I'd almost finished this jacket, but as I was filming this jacket, there was a box in the background that had the delivery label that you could see. So with this video, I had to go through and I had to chop out all these bits of like a ridiculous number of the scenes. I'm not sure if you count, like most people who shoot videos for sewing YouTube, they just turn the camera on, they talk to the camera and they talk about the sewing stuff that they did, and that's it. So it's a one take, it's just one scene, and they might chop a few bits out where they go and or they swallow and things like that. But essentially it's just one take and it's slightly edited. Whereas mine, if you actually look at it, it's more like a film. It's got lots of different scenes and then there's a narration over the top. And so it's a lot more work, but I mean, it's just what you do if, like, I don't want to be in any of my videos and I want to show the work. So it's, yeah. Anyway, in the back of loads and loads of scenes, there were these this delivery label that's you could clearly see my name and address, so I had to go along and take them all out. So anyway, so eventually I did that video, but because I spent so much time doing the editing, I didn't quite finish that jacket. And also this is the second half of my red and hot pink flowers. See, they're the bottom layers of the dahlia. They look like big spidery octopus or something like that. And then on the other side of the mannequin, I was like, the whole of the other side of the mannequin is blank. So I've got all my faux flowers, fabric flowers, stored in bags. So I got out the big white ones. And yeah, so there's Phalaenopsis orchids, there's a couple of different types of peony roses, and that was me just tripping over something. And there's also some cream coloured sort of pom-pom large giant chrysanthemums, I guess you would call them. And yeah, so this is me showing you how I pull apart the flowers, because with the hot pink and red ones, I forgot to show you. So with the Phalaenopsis orchids, for example, it's 2 layers of petals and then the tongue. And with these peony roses, there's just like a dozen different layers of petals with bits of different plastic in between them. These are 2 of the more simple ones. So basically you take the plastic bit off the back and you take all the stems off. With this one, as I said, there's 2 layers of petals and then there's the tongue of the orchid, and they're all held together with this plastic little peg. And so you take the back bit off and then you take the front bit off that puts them all together. And with the peony rose, it's the same. It's just big round layers of petals that are being steamed and crimped into shape. And then you stick a pin right through them all again to hold them into place. And eventually I'll get a pearl. With this Phalaenopsis orchid, I'll get a pearl, and with this one here, I'll get a cream-coloured pearl, and you just sort of stitch the pearl into place where the plastic was, and you also take out all there's usually these plastic cups and discs that sort of hold the petals in place, but when you're making a jacket, you don't want the petals to sit out 2 or 3 inches. You want to flatten them a little bit. So in my opinion, it's better to take out all those plastic round cones and discs and just have all the layers of petals. On some of these hot pink and red ones, I did put in a sequin instead. So I put in layer of flowers, sequin, layer of flowers, sequin, layer of flower. And that way it sort of helps them sit out a little bit, but overall they're much flatter than they used to be. So yeah, I just sort of do it by feel. I don't, it also depends on the jacket where the flower is, because some flowers you do want to be a little bit fuller, like around your neckline, you want every flower to look perfect. Whereas around your waist, you probably don't want every flower to look full. You want them to look a little bit flatter so you don't look like a big round hedge of flowers. So, this is at night. Not exactly the best footage, but it is me stitching on more beads. And so the pearl tipped pins look like cream pearls. And yeah, originally I started by stitching the red flowers on with dark red beads and the hot pink ones on with candy beads. And then I decided I wanted something more in the middle. So I went with bright red beads and hot pink. And I think these are much better. Like, I didn't undo the other ones, but yeah. And at this point, I'd done half of them, so I just pinned the other half into place. And so, yeah. It's much more difficult doing it this way, but I got to see what the end product was going to look like. So it's much easier to do it just one bloom at a time. But if you pin everything into place, then you get a really, really good idea of what the whole thing is going to look like. And you know exactly where each flower should be. And you can sort of change things around. So it's tough. I mean, it's much easier conceptually to put everything in place and then sort of do tiny adjustments, and that way you can get everything perfectly in the right place before you stitch them down. But then you have to navigate around all these big sharp pins, which is an absolute nightmare. So I don't know, just find what's best for you, I guess. But it's very frustrating, but I got there in the end. And yes, it was at night when I finished, but I felt like I needed to film the moment anyway, because I was very proud of all the work that I've done. I think it looks amazing. So they're not entirely stitched down. It's just the center of each flower, most of them, that is stitched down at the moment. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But I don't know, it looks pretty amazing. One of my all-time favorite coats is the Norman Norwell Daily coat. It's from 1965, but it just looks amazing. Like, it's ridiculous. It's a big ball of flowers, and the dahlias are giant. So if you haven't seen a model in real life, they're kind of like a big football player. They've got massive shoulders. They're huge people. Beautiful, but they're huge. So it's absolutely gorgeous. So this is my teensy wincy average person version of that type of jacket. So anyway, I've done my first 2 layers. Oh, this is old footage. So I've used up all these big and medium sized flowers on the actual tray. Now I've just got the 3 buckets of flowers to go. I have about 150 of the hot pink, 150 of the red, and I think there's about 100 of the more intricate bougainvillea flowers, which so I'm going to use the red ones on a different jacket. But anyway, so now that I've done the first 2 layers on the hot pink and red jacket, I put that aside for a bit because, oh my gosh, working on that jacket is just, it's so intricate. It's really frustrating, but I mean, it looks awesome. So I put that aside for a bit, and I finished because I wanted some beading on the sleeves that sort of made the sleeves look a little bit bigger and bulkier. And I really love this wild grass. So I did that. And I also did right around the neckline, I did some more beading. So I'm not sure if you can tell, just because it sort of matches seamlessly with what was already there. But the glass beads, I did a bit more beading. So it sort of looks like it had a few sort of bald patches previously, and I just sort of filled them in, and it adds just a little bit of weight to the back of the neckline and the front of the neckline and the shoulders. So the jacket sits really well now. Not so much on the mannequin, it sort of slides a little on the mannequin, but yeah, they sit well when it's worn. So I'm really happy with the way that jacket looks now. I think the 2 shoulders do look different, but the weight is the same on each, which is kind of, from a design point of view, that's what's important to me. And also, yeah, if the amount of weight on the left and the right side and the front and the back is the same, the whole jacket ages the same way, because obviously beads are quite heavy. And if you've gone to a museum and seen like those flapper dresses from the 1920s, the beads are so heavy, they sort of just tear the whole dress apart after a little while. So yeah, because I've spent a lot of my life going to museums and galleries and seeing really, really beautiful pieces, I just sort of learn from them and try and make something that will age well. So yeah. Anyway, so now we are up to the 3rd layer. So after I do the 150 little pink geraniums, little pink geraniums, these ones on the left, at this point, I thought I would do more. I would do the red ones as well. But honestly, after I did the 150, here we go. See, I've done them here. I'm not sure if you can tell, but that's not really, being able to see them isn't really the point. I can see them. The other hot pink ones are kind of more in the candy pink, whereas these tiny ones are very much hot pink, magenta-y hot pink. So color-wise, I think these really are really good. They bring all the colors, like there's some darker reds, there's some bright reds, there's some candy pinks, and this magenta hot pink of the geranium flowers really bring everything together. Plus they sort of just plug a few holes, and as I said, I stitched them on top of larger big flowers, the outer petals of the larger big flowers, so I was able to stitch them down at the same time. So it's only 150 tiny little flowers, but oh my gosh, it took so much time to do each one because, it's sort of, you put them in a gap between 4 other flowers, 3 or 4 other flowers. So you just stitch around all the ones around the edge, and then you plonk that one in the middle, and it sort of covers all the awkwardness. And then this is like, I think it's supposed to carry cupcakes or coffees or something, but I've decided that it's going to have quadrants of beads. So you go front left, front right, back left, back right. Plus you have the 2 half as many beads on each sleeve. So I divided all my beads into 6 different, well, it's kind of 5, but the sleeves are half each. So it's easier if you have 6 containers. And I started doing, so yeah, my 3rd layer was the hot pink flowers, and then my 4th layer is the beads, because I want a jacket that no one else will ever have or be able to make. So yeah, because I know a lot of you would like stop after the first 2 layers and go, okay, that's enough work. And it was a lot of work, but I just want something extraordinary. So anyway, I did the first layer around the bottom, and then I wanted to do layers around the whole of the jacket. So that's what I did next, but I don't like what I did next. I'll show it to you anyway. So I started doing, on the inside of the jacket, I stitched round rows so I could see where the bead guide rows, so I could see where the next layers of bead should go. And I started on one side and I did them all down, so they're sort of cascading down and they protect all the flowers. And I do like it conceptually, but I don't like that I use such big beads. I think they mask the flower, obscure the flowers too much. Plus they're sort of too heavy. I don't have enough to do it the whole way round. Plus, I think it makes the beads at the bottom look stringy. So what I end up doing is I left it for a few days. I was like, but I put so much effort into it. I have to keep going. But yeah, I decide to pull it apart, spoiler alert. And so I've kept the bottom row. Oh, so after I did the first section of the upper bead cascades, I finished that at night, and then I filmed it, and then I finished it I filmed it again the next morning because I was very invested in this beading. It took ages to do, and I do like it. It's interesting, but I guess I love that Norman Norwell jacket so much. I kind of want this jacket to be a little bit recognizable as being influenced by that. So yeah, I've decided to take off very carefully, take off all the top beading, and the bottom beading I'm going to do at least 1 more row, maybe 2 more rows of that, and use up all these big beads. And then for the rest of the jacket, I've got this big bag of red seed beads. So for the rest of the jacket, I'm going to do the same. Conceptually, it's going to be the same, but instead of lots of a string of big beads, it's going to be a string of little beads. So it's essentially going to be the same, but it's going to be like a jewelry version of it instead of a big klutzy, awkward version of it. It's going to be these tiny little exquisite beads. So Yeah. Anyway, this is what it used to look like. So even though it's super awkward at the moment, at least it doesn't look like this. And yeah, I mean, personally, I love red and green together. I think they look beautiful. But in fabric flower jackets, I don't know. I just think flowers by themselves look amazing, just all flowers, especially when I've got the the hot pink ones and the red ones in there. I think all the red ones together sort of just looks like a ball of red. You can't really see each individual flower. Whereas, yeah, if you have two colors that are very similar, like with my white jacket, the white flowers, the white blooms, there's some sort of creamy white ones, there's some white ones, there's some greeny white ones. So they're all slightly different. And with this one, there's the candy pink, there's the magenta hot pink, there's the orangey red, there's the red, and then there's the cherry sort of slightly darker red. So, and yeah, because they're all, I think this sort of contrast makes you be like you can pick out each individual flower. Anyway, so I feel like you can and then I carefully took all those beads off, and I've just pinned the two fronts together with a kilt pin so you could see what the overall look of the jacket is like. I do think I will put coat hooks, like a hook and eye, the larger size ones. I don't usually put hooks and eyes on my jackets, because, well, I hate that you can see them a little bit when they're undone, because I mainly wear my jackets undone. But I think with the floral ones, I don't know, I feel like it kind of might need one. So we'll see. Once I add the weight of the beads, it might not need it. But anyway, so this is what it looks like again. And I feel like, yeah, the beading at the bottom, it's a bit too weedy. It needs to be more full. So yeah, I might get out the boho flowers and boho keys jackets. The boho flowers ones, I love the beading on that. So yeah, I think I might do at least one more layer of the big chunky beads at the bottom. And then I think I'll do a fine layer of jewellery beading over the top. And then on the sleeves, like the beads hanging down on that, I think I'll do jewellery beading on the sleeves as well, not the big bulky beads. I think I'll just use up the big bulky beads at the bottom of the jacket, because I think they really anchor the jacket. Because the problem that all floral jackets, in my opinion, have is that they look like that armour, that whatever protective gear that American footballers wear. It just, the whole jacket looks like it's too bulky and too much on the shoulders. So I think personally, as someone who has hundreds of jackets, I feel like the beading gives it weight and length at the bottom without, like, if I'd made the actual jacket longer, then all you would see are my hips, and made even bigger by having loads of flowers on them. So that wouldn't have worked. But the beading, I just think it gives it something extra. And I mean, I'm making clothes for myself. So I need to make something that I think it brings me joy. And that's what it does. Like, it reminds me of, if you want to see the Dahlia jacket in person, it's in Los Angeles, the Museum of Fashion and Design. And yeah, it's an extraordinary piece. I absolutely love it. But I also love that my jacket, inspired by it, looks kind of completely different. Well, it will once it's finished. I've got probably a few more days. I think I will finish this one by the end of June, which is pretty amazing. I started June not having done any of my Make 9 jackets, and I'll have finished, touch wood, 3 of them. So this one, oh my gosh, this one is amazing. I did not think it would turn out as awesome as it did. And yeah, I just absolutely love it. It looks like it's got weeds and grass growing out of it, which is just, it's so amazing. I absolutely love this jacket. Okay, I'll stop looking at it. And actually, sometimes, yeah, I'm not quite used to how awesome it is. So I just I'm looking at the footage instead of talking. But yeah, I love the way the bugle beads, because they're actually really heavy, these glass bugle beads. They're quite relatively large. For a bugle bead, they're actually giant. And because they're glass, they're quite heavy. So I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to do that with them. So happy with the way that it turns out. And I've got some emerald green ones. And I've got more foliage as well left over. So I'm going to do another foliage jacket. And I've got these tropical leaves as well. So I'm going to do a dark foliage jacket that's going to be sort of inspired by years ago now. Jean-Paul Gaultier did this collection, and one of the dresses was just a sort of beige colour tulle with a corset underneath, also beige, and then he stitched all these ferns, like really dark greenery on it, and it's just awesome. But I'm going to have a dark green base jacket with dark green foliage and dark green sort of grassy bits with dark green emerald coloured bugle beads. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, that plus a separate one for the tropical leaves, some of the tropical leaves that I took off the other jacket that I showed you earlier on. Those sort of they're pink and sort of a pinky red and green leaves. They're quite awkward, but mixed with other tropical leaves, I think that jacket will work. And I might use one of the leftover red faux leather jackets to do that. Anyway, so I've done 3 of my Make 9. That's pretty impressive to me. So I'm going to I might film a bead haul, because I have to go find the red seed beads to finish this jacket. So that might be the next one that I film, but the next one that you see might be a style episode, because I've just made 3 jackets, which are, I think, there's very definition of statement pieces. So I'm going to do a style video on statement pieces and style terms. So I'm just going to talk about how the idea of statement pieces came around, and whether they're something you should invest in and add to your wardrobe or not. Obviously, spoiler alert, I think you should, because statement pieces are unique and awesome. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you've been inspired to make a floral jacket of your very own. Thanks again for watching, and happy sewing.